Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
I'm Kaylee Hartung. Here are the top 5 things to know this Tuesday. Number 1, the impeachment showdown in Washington.
We're expecting key testimony today on Capitol Hill. Bill Taylor, the top diplomat in Ukraine, will be questioned about his text messages. One of them expressed concern that President Trump was holding up military aid for political gain.
It comes as President Trump calls on Republicans to, quote, get tougher and fight for him. Number 2, authorities have issued a fire weather watch for most of Southern California through Friday night.
A small but costly brush fire damaged at least 9 homes in San Bernardino County late Monday. High winds caused extra problems for fire crews.
And in Los Angeles, residents were seen running in panic as fast-moving flames closed in on their multi-million-dollar homes. Evacuation orders were issued for about 200 homes, but those orders have now been lifted.
On to number 3, the ceasefire that's expiring in Syria.
Kurdish fighters are facing a deadline today to withdraw from northeastern Syria, clearing the way for Turkey to set up a so-called safe zone. Angry Kurds threw potatoes at departing U.S. troops.
But President Trump says we never agreed to protect the Kurds forever. Number 4, a new warning ahead of the NBA season.
The league is cracking down on fans. An increase in negative on-court interactions between players and fans has prompted the NBA to adopt a zero-tolerance policy.
Abusive or hateful behavior, including racist, sexist, or LGBTQ-related comments, will lead to ejections or more. The league says the number of fans sitting courtside who were kicked out last year doubled.
And finally, number 5, a tiny bird with a big voice that can't be ignored.
The white bellbird of Brazil attracts a potential mate by screaming in her face at the top of his lungs. At 125 decibels, it has set a new record for the loudest animal mating call ever recorded.
That's louder than a jackhammer and almost as loud as a jet plane. Scientists say more research is needed to determine if the ladybirds are actually falling for that impressive mating call.
I would say no, but what do I know? Good morning, and it's Morning America, and making her It's Morning America debut, Kaylee Hartung in the seat for Janae Norman. So this is your first time on It's Morning America. How you feeling?
Feeling good.
You've had
still awake.
I'm still awake.
Alert.
Busy morning. You said earlier that this is the most you've done before like 5 a.m. and how long?
Ever? I mean, who else accomplishes this much between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m.?
Some would say we do a lot. Others would say not so much.
But I appreciate your energy and your encouragement as I've weathered to this point. Let's try not to screw it up as we get started with this show.
And let's get to the big story. A key day in the impeachment showdown in Washington. A crucial witness heads to Capitol Hill. The top U.S. diplomat who said withholding military aid from Ukraine would be crazy testifies before Congress today. It comes as President Trump lashes out in a new interview overnight, calling on Republicans to get tougher and fight for him.
He also said he hopes that Attorney General William Barr will look into Hillary Clinton's potential ties to Ukraine. ABC's Karina Mitchell is here with more. Karina, good morning.
Good morning to you, Kenneth and Kaylee. The president says his allies should be more supportive in standing up for him and his administration, and he's calling out one Republican in particular. President Trump is demanding Republicans fall in line.
They have to get tougher and fight because the Democrats are trying to hurt the Republican Party for the election.
He lashed out, calling on his party to be more united, like his Democratic rivals.
I think they're lousy politicians. But 2 things they have. They're vicious and they stick together. They don't have Mitt Romney in their midst.
Romney has said he's open to the idea of impeaching the president if the evidence is there.
Holding up funds to a foreign nation, particularly one that's under military threat, in order to fulfill a political purpose is a real problem.
During an interview with Fox News overnight, Trump condemned the investigation, calling it unfair, but admitted,
Everybody tells me it's going to be great for us as a Republican Party if they actually impeach me. I don't know if that's true or not.
As the president continues to condemn what he calls a phony investigation on Capitol Hill, testimony continues. Today, William Taylor, the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, will testify behind closed doors. He raised the alarm about the possibility Trump may have withheld aid for political gain. In a text message to the U.S. ambassador to the EU, Taylor wrote, quote, "I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign." Trump is shrugging it off.
They're interviewing ambassadors who I'd never heard of. I don't know who these people are.
Now, key supporters, including Senator Lindsey Graham, say they'll stick with the president. Congressman Adam Schiff, a leader in the impeachment inquiry, tweeted the GOP lacked the courage to confront the most dangerous and unethical president in American history. Kenneth?
All right, Karina Mitchell, thank you.
Moving on, 2 Dallas schools are a complete loss after 3 tornadoes struck the metro area.
Many other buildings, homes, and businesses were also destroyed by the twisters. Thousands of people are without power overnight. The strongest of the storms had winds as high as 140 miles per hour. Amazingly, there were no reports of deaths or major injuries.
Another tornado touched down in Memphis, sending airport passengers and personnel scurrying for shelter. Again, no deaths or major injuries were reported. Oklahoma and Arkansas weren't so lucky, though. 4 people died in those states.
And take a look at this handcuffed man who jumped through the window of an NYPD cruiser. Yep, and tried to get away before being tackled by a cop. Other officers helped subdue that suspect, who was originally taken into custody because of a crowd control issue at the scene of a shooting. It is unclear why he tried to escape in front of the cameras, in front of all those people, in front of all those officers.
Anger and frustration are boiling over in Syria as American troops withdraw from the country in droves, leaving their Kurdish allies behind.
Crowds threw potatoes at armored military vehicles as U.S. convoys passed through Kurdish towns en route to Iraq. And this morning, the ceasefire negotiated by the U.S. is about to expire. ABC's Mona Kosar Abdi has more.
President Trump made it clear that his decision to keep a small number of troops in Syria is not about the Kurds.
We have a good relationship with the Kurds, but we never agreed to, protect the Kurds.
Instead, the president said the move was partly a request from Israel and Jordan, as well as to, quote, secure the oil.
So we have a small group there, and we've secured the oil. Other than that, there's no reason for it.
The president's message breaking with Republicans on the Hill, including Trump ally Senator Lindsey Graham, who says the U.S. should not abandon its Kurdish allies. On the ground, U.S. troops leaving northern Syria were blocked by desperate Kurds holding signs, one reading, quote, thanks for the U.S. people, but Trump betrayed us. Some expressing their frustrations by throwing potatoes at armored vehicles and hurling insults. But Trump remains unmoved, at one point insisting that the Turkish incursion may have helped ease negotiations.
If they didn't go through 2.5 days of hell, I don't think they would have done it. I think you couldn't have made a deal.
Under the U.S. brokered ceasefire, the Kurds are supposed to withdraw from a safe zone on the Syrian side of the Turkey-Syria border. But over the weekend, both sides accused the other of violating that agreement, with Turkey offering this warning.
If they don't withdraw, our operation will restart.
According to the New York Times, the Pentagon is looking to possibly keep around 200 troops on the ground. A U.S. official tells ABC News that one idea is for a mix of U.S. and European forces to stay in the area. Kaylee, Kenneth?
Our thanks to Mona. Now to an 11-year-old from Illinois who has run his way into the Guinness Book of World Records.
Over the weekend, Aiden Jaquez completed a half marathon in Iowa. That made him the first person to run a half marathon in all 50 states. He started running when he was just 2 years old. Aiden's grandmother says he took part in a kids race because he wanted the medal.
And now he's got a whole bunch of them. His first half marathon was 5 years ago when he was just 6. It's been a passion ever since.
I love running half marathons because not many kids my age do it, and it's fun to run and just get a lot of energy out and run with my grandma. I find it easier to run long distance for me because if I run short distance, I try to run too fast.
Oh.
Wow, his grandmother says Aiden has never asked to quit, and she's not forcing him to do it. He finished Sunday's race in just under 3 hours and 35 minutes.
That's pretty impressive. He could beat me, definitely.
You and me both. And coming up, Kenneth asked Jimmy Kimmel the tough questions. Find out what it's really like hosting late night in the age of Trump.
But first, big shifts in political power around the world. We'll go across the pond for more after this. Welcome back. So it appears Justin Trudeau has won a second term as Canada's Prime Minister. Projections have Trudeau's Liberal Party winning enough seats to maintain control of Canada's Parliament. But Trudeau's hold on power will be weaker than it was during his first term. His campaign was threatened by several controversies, including evidence that he had wore blackface in the past.
And in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced he's failed to form a government after falling short in last month's election. Let's bring in our foreign correspondent, Julia McFarlane, across the pond in the London Bureau for more. Good morning, Julia. Nice to meet you.
Morning, Katie. Hey.
I'm like, first time, Julia. In fact, before you move on there and tell us some very important news here, I love when two of ABC's finest, they've never met, and this is the first time. Granted, you're across the pond, though.
This show brings people together.
Look
That's
at
what's
that.
so great
Put that
about
on the
it.
promo, Digital Dave producer.
Well, Julia, I'm a big fan of yours. You do great work over there. Thanks for joining us this morning. You're too kind. Tell us, how do these elections change the geopolitical landscape?
You're right. So, as you said, we've got a slew of big foreign stories today. First of all, in Canada, Prime Minister Trudeau, remember, he swept power back in 2015, making a slew of progressive pledges. There was so much excitement about this. He's a scion of a political dynasty, having a father who led the country previously. However, these first 4 years of Justin Trudeau's premiership have been tainted with scandal, and the results have just have yet to be formally announced, but he has lost his majority. He's got 14 seats short of winning an overall majority, but that is still good news for the Trudeau campaign, because there were polls indicating that he may have lost outright. He has been tainted by a number of scandals. As I said, there was an issue with this oil company, which the Canadian cabinet, there were 2 resignations from his cabinet with female ministers claiming that they had been pressured by the administration to get to kibosh an investigation into this Canadian company on allegations that it bribed Libya for contracts. Then Prime Minister Trudeau found himself embroiled in a scandal over blackface in his earlier years. So for the Trudeau campaign, they say, look, we can govern with a minority government. We just have to build good allegiances in Parliament. But an interesting stat I heard this morning, he now leads the most unpopular government in Canadian history with less than 35% of the vote.
And Julia, when it comes to Israel, what's the story there in the power shift?
Right, so we are not quite at the bye-bye Bibi situation just yet, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he had failed to form a coalition government. The President Rivlin, he had tasked the current Prime Minister with forming a coalition government after results showed no outright majority for any of the blocs in the Knesset. Now, the president, he has got 3 days to decide what to do, and it is going to emerge pretty soon whether the leader of an opposition faction, Benny Gantz, who was Netanyahu's primary challenger, if he will be given the mandate to form the next government, if he can. If he can't, he's got a period of about 3 weeks to do that. If he also cannot form a government behind him, then we see ourselves in a period of around about 3 weeks where the Knesset automatically dissolves and, you've guessed it, new elections for the Israelis to be expected in the spring of next year.
There you go. More elections, more elections. Back there in the UK, which is supposed to leave the European Union in 10 days, I'm not really sure
supposed to, being the operative word.
I think I heard in the London Bureau you guys have a giant clock up that you just tick down with Boris Johnson's like little emblem on like a little magnet. Is that true? That's what I heard.
It's literally right behind. Just you can't. I'd show you, but it's off camera.
Guys,
yeah.
I heard it's right behind the big James Longman poster that you guys have up there in the bureau. But
we have James, Harry, and Meghan. But moving on.
Moving on. So Julia, Parliament has declined to vote on Boris Johnson's newest deal. So what's next then?
Guys, it is so chaotic. So just to bring you back, last weekend, Parliament was sitting for the first time during a weekend since Britain was at war over the Falkland Islands, and the time before that, it was during the Second World War when Parliament was sitting on a weekend. That just shows you the gravity of the situation going on right now as we get closer to the Brexit deadline. Boris Johnson is trying to get his deal with the EU pushed through Parliament. Yesterday, the Speaker vetoed it, so he couldn't bring that vote to the House. So now what's happening is he is trying to get the legislation through in 3 days. Now, because he's not getting a vote on his deal yet, he's now trying to go a different way, which would have had to happen anyway if the vote on the deal had gone through, which is the domestic UK legislation on implementing and ratifying Britain's exit. Now, he wants to do that in 3 days. The legislation to bring the UK into the EU in 1972, that took 40 days of parliamentary debate. So that's the situation on at the moment. The bill was published yesterday. It's about 100 pages long. That was uploaded on the Parliament website late last night. I saw it just as I was about to get ready for bed, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to go back.
That's not good. That's not a good bedtime story.
There was a cabinet. There was a government minister on this morning on the main BBC Radio 4 program, and the political editor said, "Have you read the whole of the bill? Have you read the legislation?" And his answer was, "I've had a good look at it."
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
It's a government minister. So the next few days are going to see long hours debating in Parliament. And again, Halloween is the deadline for when the UK is meant to leave.
Okay, we're just going to have you continue to span the globe here with us, Julia. Let's hop on over to Japan. There was a really dramatic ceremony, the emperor officially ascending the throne. But didn't we already see that a few months ago?
Oh,
What's going on?
Exactly. So Emperor Naruhito, he officially became emperor after his father abdicated. So that happened back in May. But what we saw was the lavish, elaborate ceremony that is full of symbolism that marks the official start of his reign. And, really, really beautiful pictures and so much symbolism and tradition and pageantry. He was sitting in a 6.5 meter high, the Taka Mikura throne. That's him reading out a formal proclamation, which is part of the ceremony. His wife was reportedly clothed, this is so sumptuous, reportedly clothed in 12 layers of robes and silks, and she, of course, gets her own little throne. And, of course, the ceremony was held in the presence of an ancient sword and jewel, those sacred treasures that act as symbols of Japanese imperial power. But guys, this is more than just a nice, beautiful ceremony. Japan has, of course, they've been struggling after natural disasters and that Typhoon Hagibis, which left more than 80 people dead. So this was a really nice thing to bring the country together.
Definitely.
But why would you want to wear 12 layers of silk robe?
I mean, that's
cold, maybe.
Right. I mean,
a little chilly.
Have you not seen me when I walk into the offices here?
We haven't gotten that far in this relationship.
Yeah, that's what happens. Hey, Julia.
Oh, there's a lot more to go on that front.
Oh, I know. Just ask Julia. Julia's
we'll
like,
be best friends by the end.
Kaylee, she's like, wait till you see what he's capable of. Hey, thank you so much, my friend. We appreciate it.
See you guys tomorrow.
Check our notifications now, starting with an Ohio car wash that's going all out for Halloween, turning into a haunted house. This is so spooky, it's scary. I couldn't do it.
I no longer own a car living in New York City.
Yes.
But if I had one, no way would I pay for a car wash there.
And would you take the kids, though?
Absolutely
just
not.
Nightmares.
Nuh-uh.
Well, New York City transit workers have come up with a trashy way to fight back against cuts to their cleaning staff.
The union is inviting riders to post pictures like these of the dirtiest subway cars you can find. Oh,
I can't even. I don't even know what that is exactly, and I don't want to know.
I don't either. There's some human waste, some blood, some infectious debris. The person who posts the winning photo gets $500.
And a tetanus shot.
Please.
Yeah.
I mean, I just moved to New York. I'm trying really hard to navigate the subways.
Yeah.
That makes me not want to.
No thanks. I got onto a subway car the other day, and there was a stench. I stayed on so that I could see other people's reactions when they walked on, and it was hilarious.
Okay, care to share some of the best reactions?
No, just complete horror and like.
Did some people turn around? Quick
One person turned around, but most people just got on and just sat down anyway because. Here in New York City, you'll just get acclimated to it.
What you gonna do? And we're still on the very front end of a special week here in New York City for the ABC family. Tell us more, Kenneth.
Jimmy Kimmel taking a show on the road from LA back to his hometown of Brooklyn. And yesterday we told you about how we sat down with him.
And by we, you mean you.
I like to encompass all of us as the show.
How kind.
But today we wanted you to hear his answers to some tough questions.
From Brooklyn, it's Jimmy Kimmel Live.
JK back in the BK. Jimmy Kimmel Live kicking off another week of shows at the Brooklyn Academy of Music.
This is our second home. This is my Mar-a-Lago in a way.
Why keep coming back to Brooklyn?
We love it here. We love being here. The audience is excited, and we get excited. And with this beautiful venue we're in, the Brooklyn Academy of Music is a great place to do a show. And we get great guests, and we eat like pigs.
You eat your weight. Your weight.
At least my weight.
I heard when you touched down here in New York, you went straight to get some pizza.
We went right to get pizza, yeah. We tell the kids, you know, wait till you have pizza in Brooklyn, and they loved it. And my son, who's only 2 years old, did something incredible last night. He folded his pizza in half and ate it the way, and I've never been more proud.
Did you cry a little bit?
A tear came, yes.
Welcome,
Night one,
Bruce Springsteen.
A-list celebrity heavy hitters took the stage. The Boss, Bruce Springsteen, and New York's own Alicia Keys.
I'm calling it a journey.
A journey.
With sidekick Guillermo by his side, Jimmy is promising hijinks and some surprises.
We have a bunch of surprises. Don't even ask what they are.
I'm not going to ask.
I will not tell you. Go ahead and ask.
Jimmy, what's one of the surprises?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The 51-year-old late night host in his 17th season. Did you even imagine 17 seasons?
No.
Jimmy Kimmel Live?
No.
You're a student of late night greats.
No, I never imagined we'd be on this long. It's weird. I sometimes think about this. So I've been doing this show for longer than I went to school. Because if you count kindergarten and then go through high school, that's 13 years. And then college, which I did 3 years of college, mostly unsuccessfully. I've now been doing this longer than I went to school, which is a very strange thing to think about.
The Brooklyn native, a student of the late night greats from Carson to Letterman, opening up about the challenges of late night in the age of Trump. We're in this hyper-partisan, divisive time in our country, and I think for the late night hosts, we go to you for a little levity, some comedy as well. What's it like to be a late night host in a time of the Trump administration and this hyper-partisan atmosphere we're in right now?
We are so focused on what's going on in politics now, and maybe that's probably better to be focused on politics rather than nonsense. Now, in this particular situation, we'll probably, once this lunatic is out of the White House, go back to our regular lives. But in the meantime, it's sometimes it's exhausting.
Trumpapalooza made a stop in Lake Charles, Louisiana on Friday, where once again he used all the best words.
An unconstitutional impeachment.
He really is the Abraham Lincoln of our time, isn't he?
I always look at it this way. We let America decide what we talk about, and we decide the way we're going to do it.
Do you feel for me for having to cover it?
Yeah, I do, because I do and I don't, because I do think it makes it harder in some ways, but also easier in some ways. And I have a friend whose name I won't mention who works for one of the cable news channels, and when he took the job there, he was kind of despondent. He's like, the ratings aren't great. I don't know what we're supposed to be talking about, you know, and like this terrible tidal wave, in came Donald Trump, and just all that changed.
It's Don Lemon. You can say it.
It's not Don Lemon.
Jimmy's a good guy. He's funny. Tonight Show, Benedict Cumberbatch, Kelly Ripa from Live. We love Kelly Ripa. It's going to be on the show. And then we got Eddie Murphy later in the week. The big surprise, because you heard him there mention he mentioned like Don Lemon at the end there. He wouldn't tell him, and so we don't know. And so that was potential surprise about would he say it or not. No, he didn't tell us. But other surprises happened last night when he took the whole audience over to Barclays Center for an Alicia Keys concert for a Rock to the Vote
And
event.
by whole audience, you mean including yourself.
There
Check it out.
I am with one of our other morning workers here behind the scenes in production, Andre. He's a Kimmel fan, so he went on over to the show, had some fun on that first night. So,
you know, you have my phone number, Kenneth. I don't know why my phone didn't ring I didn't get the invite.
Do you not see me belting out Alicia Keys there?
I would have been great backup.
You would have.
I would have. So you know.
Well, coming up, we'll take a look at what's going on in the day ahead, plus the big news for Star Wars fans.
We are going to take a look at the new trailer for The Rise of Skywalker right after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. Lawmakers are set to hear from the top U.S. diplomat to Ukraine. Bill Taylor took over the U.S. embassy in Kiev after the president abruptly removed the ambassador. As the president pressed for an investigation to Joe Biden, Taylor said in a text message that it's crazy to withhold aid for help with a political campaign. Meanwhile, President Trump will be having lunch with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo at the White House.
Chicago's public schools will be canceled for a fourth day as the city's teachers strike for better pay and benefits and smaller class sizes. Senator Elizabeth Warren is scheduled to join the striking teachers today as Chicago's mayor, Lori Lightfoot, is encouraging teachers to return to class while negotiations continue.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the Deep Brief for an update on all our top stories in the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
Finally, to the big reveal last night from our parent company, Disney.
Last night on ESPN during halftime for Monday Night Football, we got our first peek at the first trailer for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
You know, Star Wars fans, the fanatics that they are, are dissecting every moment of this trailer to see what the film will hold.
I mean, they're like, is Chewbacca sad? Is he happy? What can we tell from his little... wait, excuse me. You know what would be worse if you guys actually were on the camera to see that? I won't redo it because only Kaylee and Mark, our floor director, got to see that travesty there.
But we did. Can't unsee that. Pre-sale tickets to Rise of Skywalker went on sale last night.
Yep.
The movie hits theaters on December 20th.
That brings us to the question of the day. What do you think of the new Star Wars trailer? Let us know what you're excited about in the comments, or tweet us at ABC News Live. We want to hear from you. Let us know. Speak your minds. Do you want like 5 more Star Wars movies as well? we can handle it. By that time, maybe Kaylee will have watched the first one, or the second one, or the third one.
I've seen one.
Which one? The one with Harrison Ford?
No.
Take all the time you want.
I'm going to go with which one came out in 2002?
Tweet us at ABC News Live.
Because he doesn't know the
and
answer.
Let us know. All right, well, that is it for us on this Tuesday morning. It's been great to have Kaylee here. And guess what? She's coming back tomorrow.
And the day after that.
So we will see you then. Have a good one.